Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 73 in the book of John. We're in John chapter 10, new chapter today, and we're going to talk about a door of necessity and the burden of it. I just feel a burden to talk about it here today. So here's why. This is from John chapter 10. Read with me. Verse number 1. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. This figure of speech Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So Jesus said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep, the door of the sheep. So Jesus says, I am the door. Now, this is strange. Now, in John, he says, I am, and then put something in the blank 7 times in the book of John. And there's some amazing ones. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the resurrection. I am the light of the world. And just in a little bit later here, the next one is, I am the good shepherd. And he doesn't say, hey, I am the door of the soldiers. I'm the door of the conquerors. No, he says, I'm the door of sheep. So the question I have today, or the one that would bother me for the last bit of time, is why, what do we have to chew on with this? So why am I feeling burdened with understanding this idea of the door? Well, this is a new name of God. It's never been said before in the Bible. And here's the thing about the names of God. The names of God never go away. So when he reveals a new name for himself, it's for now. It was for 2,000 years ago. And it's for now in the present time. But it's going to be for all eternity. Every single day of eternity. We're going to refer back to this and worship the Lord when we get to heaven. And we are going to be calling Jesus the door when we get to heaven. So the point is, we should get our arms around it now, and that's the burden that I feel here today. This is the burden of the door. So what we have here is an eternal treasure. We know that by definition. The name of God will never stop. And the point is, we gotta dig a little bit to find it. So let's talk about doors. Doors are nouns, they're physical objects, and kind of implied with them is the verb of the action of going through the verb of going through the doorway. I was thinking today, practically, like, what were the 3 most important doors of my entire life? Here they are: 345 Dakota, Room 7, and Cardinal Hall. Now, you may be wondering, like, what do they mean? Well, each one of those things has a very long story of action and decision and drama and conflict and fruit. So the spiritual metaphor here is we are supposed to be going through the spiritual door of Jesus. We are supposed to be going through the important door of Jesus. It's the mechanism that we use to go from here to there, in to out. Like, imagine a construction site where the guy forgets to build the doorway to, like, the living room. And it's like, well, we have this glorious room. It's the most beautiful room of the house, most desired room, but there's no access point. So Jesus gives us a great access point. In fact, if you violate that, you're called a thief and a robber, and it's kind of emphasized in there that, if you find a thief and a robber, all life stops. All activity ceases until you put that person in the correct place, which is out of the sheepfold. All right, so what is a sheepfold? It's a physical place, distinct from other places, and it's a place where the sheep of the shepherd are gathered into the place of the shepherd via the door of the shepherd to be with the person of the shepherd under the protection of the shepherd. Let me say it again. It's where the people, I'm going to say it just slightly different, the people of the shepherd are gathered into the place of the shepherd by the passageway of the shepherd to be with the person of the shepherd under the protection of the shepherd. You should write that down. So this is a place where you want to be. Why? Well, because there's thieves and robbers and threats and strangers. And of note, who is responsible for the protection of the sheep? It's the shepherd. And if there's a sheep and the robber, who's defending the sheep? Sheep are notoriously poor defenders of themselves. We need a shepherd. So the sheepfold is a protected place. It's a place of listening. It's a place where sheep hear his voice. It's a place of ownership where the shepherd calls his own. It's a place of individual identity where the shepherd calls his own sheep by name. Yes, a part of the sheepfold, the sheep pen, and it's a place of necessity. The door says you gotta go through me to get to this great place and enjoy the benefits of this identity. So he is the door of necessity. The door says you got to do an action. That is, you got to go through me, and I'm the process to go through. I'm the noun that you do this action to get to the sheepfold, where you get identity and protection and fellowship. All right. So what makes the sheepfold desirable is partially the other sheep, but primarily it's the shepherd who tends it, and the door that identifies it, and the door that describes the process to obtain it. All right, so in conclusion, sheep should be going through the door to get to the sheepfold. Sheep should be reveling in being shepherded. That's called thanks or worship. Sheep should be listening and knowing the voice of the shepherd. Sheep should be calling him by name, and that's why we go through the door. So this is the burden of the door. Ready? It's to get to the sheepfold, to get to the shepherd's place, to get under the shepherd's protection, and being called by the name with the shepherd's voice, with the shepherd's people, and via the shepherd's door. This is the burden of the door. I am the door of the sheep. Thanks for listening.